anger, resentment, and thoughts of revenge, or face it, accept, and embrace forgiveness and move forward. We challenge you to let go and forgive. Weekdays from 10 to 2 p.m. on The Tanasha Gray Show with Dr. Tanasha Gray and other wellness enthusiasts. On 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7.
How do I shake off this heavy burden of unforgiveness?
Great question. I am so glad you asked. So many times I feel like we fail to do the research and to find the answers, but that's an amazing question. Let's flip some pages and find out what others are saying about this very thing.
Sure, let's go and see what Mr. Google has to say about unforgiveness. Look, I found something. Check this out, Tanasha. There are actually ways that you can do it. As a matter of fact, there are 4 stages of forgiveness. By Enright and Fitzgibbon. Stage number 1, uncovering. Gain an insight into whether and how the injustice and subsequent injury have compromised his or her life. Confronting anger and shame. Becoming aware of potential emotional exhaustion. Becoming aware of cognitive preoccupation. Confronting the possibility that the transgression could lead to permanent change for them. Discovering how the transgression changed their view of the world. Stage number 2, decision. Gaining an accurate understanding of what forgiveness is and making a decision to commit to forgiving on the basis of this understanding. Stage number 3, work. Gaining a deeper understanding of the offender and beginning to view the offender in a new light, resulting in positive change in effect about the offender, about the self, and about the relationship. Showing empathy and compassion, bearing the pain, giving the moral gift of forgiveness. Stage number 4, deepening. Finding meaning in the suffering, post-suffering growth, consideration of times when we have needed others' forgiveness. Knowing that we're not alone, becoming aware that forgiveness allows us to feel more connected with others and to experience decreased negative emotion.
Letters of forgiveness.
The Tanasha Gray Show presents the 40-Day Forgiveness Challenge. Come with us as we walk through 40 days of forgiveness with Dr. Tanasha Gray and other wellness enthusiasts. Tune in weekdays from 10 to 2 p.m. right here on 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7.
Tanasha Gray is on your radio. 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7.
And we are here on this blessed day. What an honor, what a privilege to be hanging out here in the Wellness Junction on Tanasha Gray Show here with some cool people. We thank God for each and every one of you who've been on the journey with us. Thank God for our wellness enthusiasts, those who've been sharing on this journey, talking about the things of and the hard things, may I say hard things concerning forgiveness. And the challenge really is to let go and forgive. We're talking today with Mr. Bernard Tanner Jr. here on this topic of healing. Healing in confrontation. Welcome. Welcome to day number 25 on the journey. Hello, sir. Welcome in.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
Wonderful. We are so glad to be sharing this time with you. As we talk about this, we know that you're going to share some wisdom. So far, can you recap what we've talked about thus far earlier?
Well, just speaking, of the human condition of growing and learning, what makes us grow and learn, we are tempered, like a stone. Diamonds, they occur in nature, but they don't fall from the trees. They begin as just a stone. Then you apply intense pressure, then intense heat, and the stone doesn't give in. It refuses to give in.
Okay.
So more pressure is applied and more heat is applied. You're going to more heat. And over time, that stone begins to crystallize and it becomes a diamond. So when you see diamonds among us, these human beings, the Dr. Kings, the Gandhis, all these remarkable men and women, it isn't because they were born that way. The condition for them to be that way was there, but they have gone through the storm, that pressure and that heat, of events and adversity and injustice, and they have crystallized. They've not given in to the bitterness and the hatred and the brutality and the insensibility and the brute, the brute foolishness of all that's around them. I'm not going to give in and become that. I'm going to be the candle in the darkness.
Wow.
And they begin to crystallize and they become the diamonds among us. This is just how it's done.
That is how it's done. Today we talk about that we don't always feel like it, but yet we know that when we see the colors of people and we see their true color, we don't have a choice but to face it. So though you may not feel like forgiving, feel like confronting, feel like addressing a certain situation, but when you see the colors staring right back at you, you don't have a choice but to address whatever it is. You address the elephant in the room, the thing that is a stumbling block between you and progress, you and your destiny. The relationships suffer greatly because I think sometimes the hardness of hearts, the callousness of hearts, the fact that people are so intent on doing their own thing, their own way, and no one wants to surrender and become like a child. Being in the midst of a relationship, one person is going to have to say, I'm sorry. Another person's going to have to say, I forgive you. Another person's going to have to say, don't worry about it. I release you from my judgment. But if all of us are wrong and strong, how are we going to get to that next level? And we did premise this by talking about knowing an individual, understanding them in their fullness. And when you're fully known, you should be fully loved versus people who want to love you when they don't know you. And finally they get to know you and know your flaws, and then they're like, I don't like this person, I don't care about them, I hate them, and all this rhetoric. We have to begin to get to know individuals, and when you get to know them, then you can truly say I love you, because chances are there are going to be things that you don't like, but it doesn't matter. There Everyone has things that they don't like about people. The most important thing is that there is love at the seat of your heart. And I wore my love shirt today because that's just what it is. That's my gift to humanity, to love each and every person in the fullness.
And, to be perfectly honest, if we really appraise ourselves honestly, looking in the mirror and looking deeply into our own souls, there are things about ourselves that we probably honestly do not care for. We know that we've got to work on that. As they say, the largest room in the world is the room for personal improvement.
Yes.
So we all have to work on things. And just because you love someone, that doesn't mean that you're foolish enough to trust that person if they're not worthy of that trust, but you recognize it. That's why I think it was Schubert who said that it is a greater compliment to be trusted than to be loved, because love is a gift from the person who gives it. But to be trusted means that you've earned that person's trust and you've done something, it's the difference between, men bragging about the women who love them instead of being able to brag about the women who respect them, because that takes effort. It's just not simply done.
Right. And so because with love, there is this measure of releasing debt and releasing the demands that society say, well, you don't have to like this person. You can, just go on without liking them, go on without loving them. But truly with love comes a measure of confrontation with the healing that it brings. Imagine if we don't talk about anything. How can the relationship be fortified? Earlier you mentioned about the bone.
And I think it was old man Kennedy, Joseph Kennedy. He said if two businessmen are constantly in agreement, one man is not needed. What do you hear? We always agree.
Right.
We can't both always be right and correct. One has to have a different view and a different vision that the other may not see. This is why in a good marriage, as we were speaking earlier of the Rocky film, he said, well, she feels the holes, that I have in me, and I feel the holes that are in her. But it was a compliment. They were both lacking something, and together they were, Adrian and Rocky were something special, but they both lacked something. He was the brawn and the force, and she was the sweetness and the femininity and the kindness, and she brought that out of him. So there's going to be conflict. It's just a human thing. We can't always agree. Sometimes, no matter how bright or educated or intelligent you are, you're going to be wrong because we're human. And sometimes she's going to be right or he's going to be right. And at this time, you need to listen, not to respond, but to really understand. Am I wrong? Let me hear, and if I am, okay, I apologize. You were correct about that. And so now I need to grow. And thank you for that growth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's the Tanasha Gray Radio Show on 106liveradio.com. Experience the difference.
Broadcasting live from Atlanta while serving the entire globe. It's the fastest growing radio on the web. It's 106liveradio.com.
Money Mondays is here on 106 Live Radio with Mr. Dennis Charles and co-hosts Nadine Ellis and Everton Christie. Invest your time with them, and in return, you'll receive a financial education. Call in to 404-464-8785 every Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Powered by 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7.
It's your girl Queen. It's your girl Nene. And if you want to hear your song played right here on the Bridge Club Crew playlist every first Thursday of each month, all you have to do is submit your music to the Bridge Club Crew at gmail.com. Powered by 106liveradio.com.
World Nation Nation Rocks Against Cancer presents their annual charity fundraiser, Cancer Warriors Fashion Extravaganza and Brunch, held at the Green Magnolia Event Hall located at 4371 Marietta Street, Powder Springs, Georgia, on Sunday, October 9th from 2 to 5 p.m. Presenting at this year's event, Miss Monica Kaufman-Pearson, Dr. Tanasha Gray of 106 Live Radio, and jazz artist LaTanya Sugarlip Shields. Brunch starts at $45 per person and $85 per couple. For more information, visit Eventbrite and enter Bald Nation Rocks Against Cancer. Vendors and cancer survivors can email bnrac2020@gmail.com.
Chris Jakimick, I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA, is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Hey friends, I am Carter Gray, and I am inviting you to stick and stay with us on 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7.
106liveradio.com. Call us now at 404-464-8785.
Youth with a Mission Caribbean Partners, Inc., Wayne and Cheryl Mitchell with Youth with a Mission, YWAM Grenada, exists for you to experience Christ-like transformation in your life, our community, and the nations. This is an informational message to let you know your missionaries need your spiritual and financial gifts. YWAM helps each person learn how God has equipped them to minister in the local church and in their daily life. Thank you for your support. Your donation makes a difference. Our mission is to establish the kingdom of God through the equipping of young believers in church planting among the nations. If you would like more information on some of the ministries and staff in Grenada, contact Wayne and Cheryl by emailing charmitch@gmail.com or visit their website at www.ywamgrenada.org. So that's Charmitch, SHARMITCH @gmail.com, or their website at www.ywamgrenada.org.
Download the 106 Live Radio app from your Google Play Store. Or find us on the TuneIn app.
And we welcome you back here on this day. This topic of forgiveness is talking really about healing in confrontation. And we're really just going through the whole idea of forgiveness. This is not reconciliation. This is forgiveness. Reconciliation is something completely different. We know that would have to take another form of healing that includes both parties. But with confrontation, we're just talking about simply addressing the concern, and at least one of you are on the path to forgiveness. And that's what we're looking at in this segment here today. We have been talking with Mr. Bernard Tanner Jr. on the topic of forgiveness. We do know that it means that something has happened. There has been an offense. And because of that, now you're forced to address this situation. Now, have you ever seen a relationship where you decided to actually forgive each other, address the concern, and then you move into maybe reconciliation? And even if you didn't, there is still a sense of support that you get from that person because you are building and growing. Even if you grew apart, you're still growing, and the other person looks back and just supports.
You know, growth, when you're not growing, you're dying, because
Yes.
anything organic that doesn't grow, it's now in a status of decay. It's dying. And sometimes that will entail growing apart, but it's not that you haven't forgiven that person. It's also understanding, forgiving that person, yet still understanding that this person is or is not something that you need to be, or something that they are that you cannot live with, but you understand and you forgive them and you grow. There was a really fascinating scene in one of my favorite films called the name of the film is entitled Inherit the Wind, with the great Spencer Tracy and Frederick March. And there's a scene in the film where March addresses Tracy and he says, "We were once such close friends. What happened? How did you move so far away from me, my friend?" And Tracy turns to him and he says, "Einstein has proven that time and space are relative. Maybe it's you who moved away from me by standing still." Wow. But I
by
got
standing still. Okay.
I was still moving and you stood still.
I was growing, pretty much growing, and you didn't grow. You remained stagnant.
You remained stagnant, and I was on a mission, and I continued to grow, and you didn't, and so that put distance between us.
Wow.
It doesn't mean that I don't love you as a friend, but
right.
we stand on two different grounds now because you stopped moving forward.
Wow.
And you have to keep moving forward.
And that happens a lot in relationships, more often than we think. Really, people grow.
You grow, and that's why I tell people when they're romantically interested in someone, make sure that that both of you can grow. If one's not going to grow, someone's going to grow apart. I think one of the greatest, most realistic love songs that I've heard in modern times. I heard it originally by the late great soul singer James Ingram and his partner. Singing partner Patty Austin, but the greatest interpretation that really made me hear the lyrics was the great Tony Bennett, and the name of the song is there's a lyric in the song, and he says, "And since we're growing, how can we stay the same?" And that really hit me. You're going to grow, so you have to make sure that partner can grow
with you,
and that you're going to grow, because she may be growing in a way and you have to grow right along with her. This is just
profound.
This is how it's done, and you respect one another because you're not stagnant. It's constantly new and interesting, and you discovered something fascinating that you want to share, and a new experience, or and the other partner is really interested. Wow, I'll grow with you. That was fascinating. We can take that and incorporate it into our relationship, our worldview, our philosophy, and become better people. This is just how it's done. It's as you opened the segment, it's not easy. It's never easy. And I'll give an example. I think in not only mine, but in the estimation of most historians of boxing, that Muhammad Ali was very likely the greatest that we've ever seen. But that wasn't bestowed upon him as a gift. He began telling the world that in 1962, and they laughed because he was charming and he was funny. He had that, that cockiness that, that was disarming, and he could actually fight. And he had those poems, but they really thought that he was the greatest heavyweight ever, greater than Joe Louis, who held the title for nearly 12 years and 25 defenses, or the undefeated Rocky Marciano, or Jack Dempsey, who at that time had the most knockouts in the first round, or Jack John. No, he's not even going to beat Liston. He was an 8-1 underdog. Then Liston fell. Then he fell again. And Zora Foley fell. And Floyd Patterson fell. And he fell again. And Frazier fell twice. And Foreman fell. And Lau fell. And this just kept happening over and over and over and over again until people finally got it. Oh my God. Yeah. This guy is every bit what he said he was. He's the greatest. But it wasn't given to him. He had to go into that arena and prove it.
Right.
And he paid a horrific price to earn that right to be called that. Relationships go through that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to go through things that you were not expecting, a death of a loved one, you know, some challenge that you were not expecting, maybe a health issue, something's going to happen. That's just life. It's going to happen. But when it does, can you adjust to it and grow and make it better?
Right. That is the key. That is the key right there. To stay on the road to recovery, to stay on the road to healing and forgiveness and togetherness. That is the key right there to just getting through all the way to the end of the journey. Each of us, we're on a journey. It looks different, but we encounter the same amount of struggles on the way. Keep it locked in right here. We're taking a quick break at the top of the hour. We'll be right back.
Streaming live from Atlanta to a global audience on your favorite device. From Source of Wellness Media, we are 106inspiration.com.
The Tanasha Gray Radio Show on 106 Live Radio. Experience the difference.
I was born to walk through the fire. I was made to run through these flames. Yeah, even when I'm broken and tired, you are enough, enough, enough.
And I know you've been feeling like nobody cares. Looking for love everywhere, but nobody's there. Your secrets are hidden and buried deep inside. You try not to show it, but all I see is pride. All I see is fear. That's not welcome here. Fight hard, persevere. Slow down, switch your gears. Focus, make this the year. Yeah, you're hopeless. Give him your tears. And I remember going through the same thing. All that weight on my shoulders try to break me. Father, stretch your hand down from heaven, please save me. I'm holding to the promises you gave me.
I was born to walk through the fire. I was made to run through these flames. Yeah, even when I'm broken and tired, you are enough, enough, enough.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, lately my prayer sound more like complaints. I'm trying to fight insecurity while balancing faith. Nobody ever changed the world by playing it safe. When you're afraid, it's the only time that a man could be brave. So don't tell me God is silent when your Bible is closed. I know that I'm far from perfect, but I want to be close. Even on this broken road, I know that God's in control. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was. Yeah, so I don't want to overcomplicate it. Your love doesn't change, it made me who I am, yeah. And even when I don't think I can make it, your grace surrounds me, I'm a singer to the end, yeah.
I could give up, I could just hide, but you walk with me through all of my fights. You do, yeah, you do. I could give up, I could just hide, but you walk with me through all of my fights. You do, hey, I was born to walk through the fire. I was made to run through these flames. Yeah, even when I'm broken and tired, you are enough. You are enough, enough, enough. I was born to walk through the fire. I was made to run through these flames. Yeah, even when I'm broken and tired, you are enough, enough, enough. You are enough, enough, enough.
It's the Tanasha Gray Radio Show, brought to you by Source of Wellness Ministries, counseling and wellness education. Live well, move well, and be well.
Letters of Forgiveness on 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7. Forgiveness is a choice that each and every one of us have. When faced with asking for forgiveness, we may choose to ask in several ways, such as over the phone, face-to-face, or even writing a letter. Here we have a voicemail message which demonstrates true humility when asking for forgiveness.
Greetings. Thank you for calling. This is Tanasha Gray. I'm not available right now, but please feel free to leave a message and I'll be sure to get back in touch with you. Love you.
Hey, Tanasha. I'm calling to offer my sincere apologies for all my bad actions and attitudes towards you. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings or cause any inconveniences in any way. I do see your point. I'm sorry for not listening or valuing your opinion. I now see that my utterances made you uncomfortable at work and made you unproductive. We really do good work together. I don't have an excuse for such foolish behavior, and I hope you will forgive me. I will strive to do better and become a better coworker and friend. I will find a way to atone for my unprofessional behavior, and again, I am sincerely sorry. Goodbye. I'll talk to you soon. You are listening to The Letter of Forgiveness on 106liveradio.com.
What an honor to have worked with so many amazing people on this 40-day wellness journey. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone who participated in sharing their stories and to everyone who contributed to writing letters of forgiveness. Thank you. Special thanks to the Minter Boys who were brave enough, Ministers Erica and Roger Anderson, and Dr. Kimberly Sanders, Shane Alexander, Dr. Curtis, and Prophetess Bobby Minter, Dr. Jason Gray, and Doctors Carlton and Linda Truesdale. Hey, John Jeremy, friend of the show, thank you so much to our 106 production team here, Gavi and Verbal Y, to all our 106 teammates. And last but definitely not least, thank you to our amazing listeners right here on the Tanasha Gray Show. Thank you. I love you, and God bless you.
Tanasha Gray is on your radio. 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7.
And we welcome you back here in the middle of the day. We are hanging out with you. And Mr. Bernard Tanner Jr. is here with us, just really celebrating those of you who've recovered from an offense. If you have recovered from anything that was hard and difficult, we want to celebrate you. So here you go. Cheers. Hats off to you if you've recovered, if you've gotten to that place of prominence, if you've just gotten back to that place where you're on stable ground again, that you know who you are, you understand your gifts, you still know that you have a purpose, you still understand that there is another level for you to take. We applaud you on this day because it's not easy to go through hardship and come out on the other side to talk about it, to now begin to strengthen someone else behind you, take their hand and pull them forward. That's what we're talking about when we say, okay, you recovered, you healed, and now you can turn back and heal someone else. Mr. Bernard, let's talk about the fact that it is something about choosing. There's a choice that you have to make to say, okay, I'm going to sit here and have a pity party, or I'm going to go on the road to recovery and I'm going to pursue that because it's God's best. Let's talk about the road to recovery, what that looks like.
Well, to recover, you're acknowledging that you are injured. And, even the sports term, well, they recovered the fumble. Here's why I fumbled. And you don't stand there. You scramble to get that ball back.
Sure, absolutely.
If you don't, the opposing team's going to get it. No, he scrambled and he got that ball back. He fumbled. We all fumble. There's an African proverb that says, even monkeys fall from the trees. It's a monkey, and it took a misstep. It missed the limb and it fell. So human beings, like those monkeys, we're going to fall, but you have to recover. You say, okay, I made the mistake. Now let me get up and correct it. And with that, you go forward. I was going to share something, but I wanted to make sure before, maybe in a future episode, we can show it. But it is of this 7-year-old girl, and she's in a track meet. And with as the runners take off, she loses her shoe. And she has to go back and quickly put that shoe back on. By the time she has just popped the shoe back on, there's no tying of any string, but she pops the shoe back on and she starts running. She didn't cry. She popped it on and realized, okay, I've got to run even faster now. 7 years old. And halfway down the stretch, she's caught up. And her parents are yelling her name, Tay-Tay. Go Tay-Tay, go Tay-Tay. And a few seconds after that, she surpassed them. And she won the race by at least 10, 15 yards. Wow. That 7-year-old girl has just taught me a lesson. You lose your shoe.
Keep on running.
You go back, put it back on, and you run even faster.
That's the goal. That's the goal. We don't stop. We don't give in. We don't, sit there and mope and cry. I mean, there is a race to be won. So some people get hurt and they never recover because this may sound harsh, but you have made the choice not to recover. And I get it, that circumstances might dictate where you are and might dictate the even given more difficulty to the circumstances, but you still have a choice in the midst of it. So it doesn't dictate your decision and it shouldn't dictate the outcome, but it should probably prompt us and push us into striving for whatever it is to get that thing. And when it comes to relationship, we make a choice that I will no longer walk with this person. I will no longer reconcile. I will no longer heal. I will no longer forgive or trust or love. We make a choice to do that. So if we're still hurting from a past offense, the author is saying in the Bait of Satan, which is John Bevere's book that we're studying here for the 40 days, he is saying it is because you choose to hurt. And I have to agree, because if it's based on our choices, we make that choice. If God has given to us everything and we still claims that we have nothing, then we've made a choice not to.
As we were discussing earlier, that nothing can come out, of you that's not in you. You squeeze an apple and what will come out will be apple juice. You squeeze an orange juice. You squeeze a grape juice, and on it goes. You can't squeeze an apple and get orange juice. It's just not possible. It's against biology, everything that we know of biology. So you have some people, and they will go sometimes through quite minor things, and yet all the bitterness and the hatred and the resentment, and others who have literally gone through Hades. As a matter of fact, I knew an older gentleman. He worked at my uncle's laboratory, and when my uncle was one of the physicists there at Fermi Nuclear Research Laboratories in Batavia, Illinois. And the man was so full of joy, always laughing and smiling. And one day at lunch, we were in the men's room, and he was preparing himself, cleaning himself. And I noticed the tattoo on his arm. My uncle was in the bathroom with me, and he noticed that I noticed that, and he nudged me not to mention it. At that moment, I knew that this man had literally been in a Nazi death camp. Wow. I could not even fathom the horror that this man had seen.
Yeah.
And yet, didn't know of it, could not have conceived of it until I saw that tattoo on his arm, that he was literally tattooed for extermination. But he was spared either through the coming of the Allied soldiers or the Russians coming there, but he was spared somehow.
Talk about having a mark on you.
And yet, nothing but humor and joy, and
Wow.
he was just an
He made a choice.
He made his choice.
He made a choice.
I can be bitter and angry and hostile, and yet about a year later, they showed an episode. They showed the miniseries The Holocaust. It introduced the great actress Meryl Streep, to the world, and one of the other men there, he hanged himself. They found him in his office. He had hung himself. And then when they look back, they discover that he had come here under Operation Paperclip, and he had been a Nazi. So evidently he saw that, and he could no longer live with something that he had done, and decided to kill himself.
Wow.
And yet this brilliant Jewish scientist was filled with so much joy and so much humor. He was a hilarious person, and yet he had literally gone through Hades. The things that he has seen would probably destroy the minds of most people. And yet out came the joy and the humor and the laughter. It was amazing. It made my respect for him grow exponentially. It was just incredible. And some people are like that. No matter what you do, the joy and the forgiveness and the love is going to come, because that is what is in them.
That's right. That the point that you're making is so key to what we're saying. We're saying that if you've decided that you no longer will stay in this brokenness, you will be healed. You will be healed. You've decided you will no longer stay in this brokenness. You will be healed, because going along with that will be the releasing of the offense. Whether it's you think it's your neighbor, your friend, whoever it is, you're going to release them from your judgment. And that brings us to another point. A lack of compassion for others arises from an unwillingness to forgive their weaknesses. Right?
Right.
A
Absolutely.
lack of compassion. You're not willing to forgive another person's weakness. Then maybe, I'm just thinking, if I don't do it, if I don't forgive another person, it might just be that I'm thinking that I don't have any weaknesses myself. I remember you mentioned about being perfect versus, can you share that thought with us, that, people think that they're perfect.
Yes.
And we know there is no perfect individual, including
that's it,
you and I.
Including you and I, and as much as it, and there's an very interesting story of this as well. And it goes back to my early childhood and an episode of the cartoons, The Flintstones, where Fred had had enough of Barney. And so I'm done with Barney. And the Martian Kazoo said, "You have no idea what Barney has to put up with you." He said, "What do you mean?" And so he magically or scientifically made a duplicate of Fred and had Fred living with Fred. And he drove himself up the wall. He could not stand being with himself.
Wow.
And he quickly reconciled with Barney. I see now what you have to put up with me.
Oh boy.
Please forgive me so we can be. I had no idea. I was putting you through all of that, being who I am.
Great analogy. Great analogy. That oftentimes we stare ourselves in the mirror and we don't like what we see. We can't stand who is staring back at us. Can you imagine? That is amazing, because it brings us to that place where we have to face our weaknesses, face our flaws. And because we can't, we would lack compassion. Some people don't want to know your story. They don't want to know where you came from to get to know you. Because when they do, they'll find that you are someone who was just like them, and you're going to give them a ray of hope.
Likewise, as they say, we all go through life, and going through life, you will receive, some scar tissue, because, that is just simply life. This is the reason why, in the, as the design of the American government, the president, he or she cannot be younger than 35 years old. And the same goes to Britain and in most, governments, because that 15-year-old or that 20, he may be a genius intellectually.
Talk about that.
But there are certain things that only life can teach you and mature you for having that kind of responsibility.
Yes. So we do have a caller on the line. Let's hear what he has to say and add.
Welcome, caller.
John Jeremy, welcome in.
Yes, hello. Good morning to you, Tinashe, and Bernard.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yeah. Yes, welcome. When we spoke, I've been analyzing and pounding on just the short talk we had, and what you're saying is so truthful. And right now we are running in an era where there are so many people out there, really good-hearted people, merciful people, forgiving people, but because of the pride of hurt and all of the past, they keep themselves hidden under that bushel and they do not want to show the face. So according to this book that we are reading and this 40 days forgiveness, what I've learned, your past of yesterday is the growth of today.
Yes.
Because how could you be free sometimes if you never experienced being burdensome, Or how could you feel forgiven if you didn't do something wrong and someone will reach out to you and say, oh, I love you, I have forgiven you? Or how do you know your friend really loves you deeply when maybe your friend really behaved with you in such a manner that you thought maybe they were envious of you, or they hated you, or they did not want to see you do well? And when you all go through your confrontation, you realize that that friend indeed really loves you and they really regret what they have done to you. And this brings about trust and so forth. And pounding on this brought me to the era where I realized that I am now refreshed. I have no bitterness in me. And if you could get yourself to the point of being refreshed and you have no bitterness in you, that means you have overcome freedom, you have overcome forgiveness, you have overcome loving, you have overcome being gentle, you have overcome being compassionate, you have overcome being accepted. And when you put all these together, you are refreshed. So the hateful feelings, and the unforgiveness of the way we walk has all passed away. And this is so astounding in what you in what you say. That's what I really want to share with you. And just the little word you just said about my voice this morning brought so much into me. It wasn't much, just 3 words. Your voice sounds different. And I say, oh my God, he's listening to the Spirit, because I speak of not my own accord, but of the Spirit, and this is refreshing. And this is what I want to tell the people out there listening today. Even you learn nothing much, there's one thing you should consider, no matter your past. If you sincerely feel that you are free and you have forgiven your neighbor, you have let go anything, don't keep yourself under that bushel. Come out and share this freedom you have with each other.
Wow. John, we appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you, John.
Surely, we are on the path to spiritual maturity, and that really is where we're going, to begin to forgive each other and to love in spite of. When we come back, we want to talk about hurt feelings versus healed feelings. Stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.
It's the Tinashe Gray Radio Show on 106liveradio.com. Experience the difference.
RPM Restoration Power Ministries Pastors Charles and Betty Blackshear invite you to an old-fashioned Holy Ghost tent revival, Sunday, August 21st through the 28th, 7 p.m. nightly at the Cedar Mountain Plaza, located at 3697 Highway 5, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135. There will be great gospel music, praying for the sick, and the witnessing of miracles, signs, and wonders. Free food, TVs, gift cards, and backpack giveaways each night. See you there.
.106 Live Radio is broadcasting live from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States to a global audience. Our radio station has a prominent international presence, which has grown to over 185 countries and is still growing. We stand behind our experienced on-air personalities and DJs to deliver clean and up-to-date content, which will leave a positive impact on all communities that we serve.
Even though there's an empty seat, our song will always have a place at our table. Even though the holidays will never be the same, my sister will always have a place in our family.
Even though life goes on, my mom will always have a place in my heart.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Youth with a Mission Caribbean Partners, Inc., Wayne and Cheryl Mitchell with Youth with a Mission, YWAM Grenada, exists for you to experience Christ-like transformation in your life, our community, and the nations. This is an informational message to let you know your missionaries need your spiritual and financial gifts. YWAM helps each person learn how God has equipped them to minister in the local church and in their daily life. Thank you for your support. Your donation makes a difference. Our mission is to establish the kingdom of God through the equipping of young believers in church planting among the nations. If you would like more information on some of the ministries and staff in Grenada, contact Wayne and Cheryl by emailing charmitch@gmail.com or visit their website at www.ywamgrenada.org. So that's Charmitch, SHARMITCH @gmail.com or their website at www.ywamgrenada.org.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to tell everyone else.
Ladies and gentlemen.
About 106liveradio.com.
It's the Tanasha Gray Radio Show on 106liveradio.com. Experience the difference.
Letters of Forgiveness on 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7. Forgiveness is a choice that each and every one of us have. When faced with asking for forgiveness, we may choose to ask in several ways, such as over the phone, face-to-face, or even writing a letter. Here we have a letter of forgiveness which demonstrates true humility when asking for forgiveness. Letter to my team members. Regarding the situation with us, I'm writing to admit to the team that I was completely out of order. What I said in our last meeting was uncalled for. I've been holding bad feelings because I felt like I was always being overlooked. Our teamwork is impeccable. I acknowledge my attitude has been wrong from the start of our new project. Forgiveness plays a big part in my faith, so I need to get this right between us. My behavior has been wrong, and I want to show you that I can change and work as a team no matter who gets the credit. Our relationship is just as important as the project. Thank you for your understanding, and I was the problem, but now we can have a clean slate. Again, I'm sorry for all my mess. Thank you again. You are listening to the Letter of Forgiveness on 106liveradio.com.
What an honor to have worked with so many amazing people on this 40-day wellness journey. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone who participated in sharing their stories and to everyone who contributed to writing letters of forgiveness. Thank you. Special thanks to the Minter Boys who were brave enough, Ministers Erica and Roger Anderson, and Dr. Kimberly Sanders, Shane Alexander, Dr. Curtis, and Prophetess Bobby Minter, Dr. Jason Gray, and Doctors Carlton and Linda Truesdale. Hey, John Jeremy, friend of the show, thank you so much to our 106 production team here, Gavi and Verbal Y, to all our 106 teammates. And last but definitely not least, Thank you to our amazing listeners right here on the Tanasha Gray Show. Thank you. I love you, and God bless you.
Tanasha Gray is on your radio. 106liveradio.com, where excitement meets diversity 24/7.
And we are back. Welcome back into our wellness conversation. We're talking about forgiveness. The challenge is to let go and forgive. I have the pleasure of hanging out today with a very cultured gentleman, one who blushes. Yeah, when I say that.
I can do that.
Yes, you did. But nevertheless, he has been so instrumental, just like all our other participants, our conversationalists in this junction here, to share some of those thought-provoking things. And we've been talking about spiritual maturity. John, Jeremy, friend of the Tanasha Gray Show from the North Carolina region. We thank you so much. He's a friend for over 20 plus years. Can you imagine, that we've been through some things too, right, John? And can we say that it has been for our own spiritual maturity? Would you say that?
Oh, for sure, 100%, because we could have either been nowhere or where we are today if we had not accepted forgiveness and if we had not embraced each other, even in our downfall or when we let each other down and when we didn't answer the cry of each other, we could have been lost. But because of the forgiveness and the lovingness in us and the compassion within us, we were able to let go and move on,
Yeah, and that's the actual part of learning and growing and developing. It's going to feel like it's friction, rubbing against each other at times. But hey, if God's on your trail, he's going to use people. We can think that we're going to be rubbing up against a wall and the wall is going to teach us a lesson. There's going to be people involved. I know you're bubbling up.
No, I tried it. There's a difference between listening to respond and listening to learn.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're bubbling up because you have so many analogies and good ones too, from Shakespeare. Share one from Shakespeare.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was just thinking.
Oh, see?
I was just thinking of one as you two interacted when you were speaking of your 20
plus years
of friendship. And Shakespeare, when the scene where Polonius was speaking to his son, and he said, do not dull thy palm of husbandry with each new, untried, unfled comrade, but those who have gone through the ambers of hell, grapple them thy soul with hoops of steel. And this above all others.
The ambers of hell.
Grapple them to your soul. That's your real friend. Then he said, and this above all else, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day, that thou cannot then be false to any man. So you found a friend and you grappled him to your soul with hoops of steel, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's right. And we must be willing to forgive and willing to face the issues that are happening, willing to put the past behind, forget the past, put the past behind for the greater good. Of course, you're in that lane where you are learning and growing, and if you use it, you're using it to the greater good of the stories and things that have happened.
And in nature, you'll find that sometimes some people who appear to have a crusty or a hard image, it's usually an image, because there's a reason why a turtle shell is hard, because inside is soft and it's there to protect it, like a coconut shell or a walnut shell or Brazil nut, these, but it's there because the inside is really soft and it's really tender.
That is so good.
And some people, they may appear to have that, but if you can penetrate that, you'll discover incredible warmth and love and goodness. They're just wary because they've been hurt.
Yeah.
But with patience, with love, and with understanding, and they realize, well, I can trust my feelings to this person.
Right.
This person will not betray my trust, will not ignore my emotions. He's a friend, or this one's really capable of being a good mate. Maybe I found my mate.
Right.
But that quality is needed. But it's not that that person is just hard through and through. Even if you look at some of the the tough guys in Hollywood history, there are moments, John Wayne or Bogart, where there are scenes where they show remarkable tenderness, and therein is what got their appeal. They were not hardened.
Right.
They had to have a certain persona to deal with the world as men in hard times.
Right.
But beyond that,
see them in an intimate setting, and they can let their guards down and come out of their shell.
Out of the shell, and it's quite
and
touching.
be real and be transparent. But it's for their inner circle, and for those who come and needs it. So here's a question. What about you, each and every one of us? What about the heart that we have? I'm pretty sure we've learned some things along the way, but when we decide, okay, I'm going to forgive an offense, I'm going to release that offense, how do we now feel? And so we're looking at the feelings, we're looking at the healed versus the hurt feelings. So John, question for you. You've been in a position where you had an opportunity to forgive. Now that you've forgiven, do you feel free or do you feel burdened?
Oh, I feel free. The problem is on the way to forgiveness, you feel burdened because you are so confused. Should I forgive? Should I not? Because there were certain times you have to forgive people, and it's not in the form of word. You have to have a confrontation with them.
Okay.
Sometimes you must have a witness with them. Can you trust that person? Will that person take your side or take their side? Will that person be neutral? And that is the problem of forgiveness. The path to forgiveness. Forgiveness in itself is not a problem. It's the path to forgiveness and self-control. Because what I've realized, sometimes someone has good intention, and the good intention leads them to the wedding feast, and everything is bubbling and beautiful. But guess what? In a good wedding feast, there is wine. And if you are greedy and you drink too much wine, what happens to you?
You get drunk.
Correct.
You trip over yourself. You hurt people.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And things become worse. So on our path to forgiveness, we have to be very careful. We must pray for freedom. We must pray for the Holy Spirit to guide us. And that's another thing we'll have to talk about, because when in the normal world, when you're speaking about forgiveness, maybe in the legal aspect, you're not thinking about the Holy Spirit at that time. But it's because we all are unique and we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. It gives us this courage to forgive, so we cannot put this away from us. And if we follow this menu, we will succeed. Do not get drunk with wine when you're invited to the wedding feast. Enjoy yourself, be satisfied, have self-control, and then forgiveness will work.
Right. And so free versus burdened, burdened will be still a hurt feeling. So that gives an inclination that you're still not healed. If not, you will feel free. Can you speak Bernard, can you speak to loving versus vengeful?
Well, in the sense that, vengeance, I'll put it this way. There was something that Gandhi said, and it really affected Dr. King, who got his methodology for attacking segregation from Gandhi's movement in India. He said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth will ultimately leave the entire world blind and toothless. At some point.
Right. So loving versus vengeful.
You can be vengeful, and the world will be filled with anger and hostility and hatred, or you can build and say, okay, it happened. It's a product of history. We have to acknowledge it honestly and move on. This person has hurt me legitimately. I can let that poison the entirety of my life, or I can let it go and move on.
Right.
As we were speaking, that bad attitude is like that flat tire.
Yeah.
You're not going to go anywhere until you change both.
Yep. You got to change that bad attitude, change that flat tire.
Or you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And life is a journey, and you don't want to stay stagnant. The heart and the mind are like water. If that water is not flowing, it's not free flowing, it will become stagnant, and it will breed disease and mosquitoes.
Right.
And you don't want that of your mind, and you don't want that of your heart.
That's right.
So okay, he hurt me or she hurt me, and this one disrespected me, and this bigoted comment or that xenophobic comment, or you recognize it, you don't let it affect you.
Absolutely.
As Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you think bad of yourself without your consent. Give them that consent, and you move on, and you place your heart and your mind, because it's a stabilizing thing. Like the Chinese say that water always seeks its own level. And so you will, believe it or not, as rare a soul as I know you are, this loving, kind person, you found it in your husband. You will find these people in your life. They will present themselves.
Yeah.
The others who are unworthy or not yet worthy, they will separate.
And you give them time and patience. And that's where compassion comes in versus judgment, because you'll give them time because, of course, someone is yielding to you to give you time. So you'll share that with another. John, can you speak to gentle versus the callous heart, the hardened heart versus being gentle? So we know one is healed, one is hurtful.
Oh, for sure. Because, for example, when you're gentle, there is no resentment. When you're gentle, when you speak, the way you speak, people could feel you. And if we take nature, for example, check how harsh winter is on the trees. The trees shed the leaves. They cry for cover. There is nothing to shelter them. But then when gentleness comes and spring comes, guess what? They all flourish with green leaves. They all bear flowers. Some of them bear fruits. Guess what? And when the harsh summer comes, they protect us. They protect the soil, and that is what gentleness is about. If you do not forgive and you not let that gentleness come out within you, then you have the opposite, which is bloodshed. For example, you do me something and I'm angry. I'm ready to fight you, and guess what? In fighting, the fittest survive. But in gentleness, there is a unity among us. We help one another. And that is why sometimes I love the Bible. But as I tell people, if you take a look at nature and see the gentleness of nature, even the animals out there, they attack you because of fear. If they know that you will treat them good, you'll take it, they will never attack you. So if we could be gentle with one another, when someone says something to you you do not like, just be gentle with them. You would see the response to you. And because of that, the hurt within you could be healed. And when you are healed, then your blood flows better, you exercise better, you do everything better. Guess why? Because you are breathing better. And this is something that is very important in our life, the way we breathe.
Yes, that is so true and so key to us growing. Talking about growing in maturity, these are the things that we're going to experience when you're healed. You're going to feel free, forgiving, loving, gentle, compassionate, and accepting. You're going to feel that versus rejecting. Can you speak to rejection versus acceptance? Because rejection would be a hurt feeling. If we find that people are around us are always feeling rejected and they put up a front before they can experience that again, they go ahead and reject someone versus being accepting, welcoming.
Correct. Now, rejection and welcoming. Sometimes we think saying things to people that are good or even treating them nice with kindness. We are not rejecting them. But sometimes when you shut people off and you don't allow them to be heard, then you are rejecting them. Sometimes people might be speaking and they might use obscenity, they might use something, and you feel what they are saying does not compile to whatever the topic is. Maybe they're insultive, they do not respect you, but what you don't realize, they are speaking out of the heart. And if you listen to them and after you said to them, you know what you said, it's really true and I appreciate what you said, I've learned from what you said, but the result, if you want to feel better, so these words won't come out of you, if you do it in this way, then they feel accepted. But then if we just shut them off, then technically we are rejecting them. So we have to understand rejecting someone is not just what we say and not what we do, but also giving them a listening ear, giving them a platform. Because guess who are the people who are hurting the most? Those that are way below, those that sometimes don't have a job, those they're hungry, and when they speak out of the heart. So can we give them a listening ear, and could we understand where they are coming from and let them know that we love them? And this would allow so many people to be accepted.
Wow, it's so key that it's that season that we're in where people are needing the warm hearts to surface.
There is an African proverb, especially, and this deals with children, that I think it's from it's a Bantu expression, and it says, you are obligated, you must love and embrace the child, for if you do not, he will grow to burn down the village just to feel the warmth of its fire. He wasn't embraced. I'm old enough to remember, the 60s and the riots in Watts, the riots in Chicago after Dr. King was killed, the riots in Detroit, because you had a whole group of people who were not being accepted simply because of their complexion, which was ridiculous. Senator Robert Kennedy even addressed it. He said, we have within our own inner cities a population who have justly grown intolerant of our unjust intolerance and have not found just redress in the courts and in society, and in frustration and anger have taken it to the streets. That's what happens. You have to embrace one another. If not, as Dr. King said, it is true through our incredible, technological ability. This show here reaches over 100 nations. That's incredible. It was unheard of technology, when I was a child. But he said, through that technology, we've turned the world into a neighborhood. Now, through our moral and ethical commitment, we must make of it a brotherhood. Mankind must put an end to hatred and war, or we will soon put an end to mankind. So we have to embrace one another and accept one another. And the wrongs in the past acknowledged, and then we have to move on.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. You have shared some deep truths with us, John Jeremy. We'll be back shortly, coming back to give our thoughts on this whole healed versus hurt feelings. Just looking at that list and finding out where do we stand. It's important for us to do an inventory, and that's what we're doing right now. We'll be back shortly.
It's the Tanasha Gray Radio Show on 106liveradio.com. Experience the difference. It's the Tanasha Gray Radio Show on 106liveradio.com. Experience the difference. 106liveradio.com. Call us now at 404-464-8785.
Need a financial representative in your corner? Nadine Ellis of the World Financial Group is here to assist. The World Financial Group assists with debt management, retirement planning, protections such as life, health, and Medicare insurance, college planning, and even will and trust planning. Free financial workshops are available as the company is on a mission to educate 30 million families by 2030. Nadine can be reached at 770-383-2398. Come grow a strong financial house for yourself and your next generation.
You listen when your body says, "I'm tired," or "I'm hungry." What if your body said something else might be wrong? Gynecologic cancers, cervical, ovarian, and uterine cancers have symptoms, so pay attention. If your body says something may be wrong, please listen. If it goes on for 2 weeks, see a doctor. It may be nothing, but find out, learn the symptoms, get the inside knowledge about gynecologic cancers.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
RPM Restoration Power Ministries Pastors Charles and Betty Blackshear invite you to an old-fashioned Holy Ghost tent revival, Sunday, August 21st through the 28th, 7 p.m. nightly at the Cedar Mountain Plaza located at 3697 Highway 5, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135. There will be great gospel music, praying for the sick, and the witnessing of miracles, signs, and wonders. Free food, TVs, gift cards, and backpack giveaways each night. See you there.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to tell everyone else,
ladies and gentlemen,
about 106liveradio.com.
We are back. We are back in conversation with Mr. Minister John Jeremy. He's on the telephone line. Thank you so much, friend of the show. And also Mr. Bernard Tanner Jr. He's
Hello.
hanging out with us today. Well, as we were saying, going through that list, looking at those who are healed, the feelings of still being hurt and wounded. These are the feelings that you'll find surfacing. So I can go through healed feelings, hurt feelings, and just look and see where I might be if there's a situation that we encounter. Sometimes I think identifying how we feel, putting a label on it, IDing it is a thing that we fail to do. We think that it's wrong to kind of look at the way you feel, but the way you feel dictates what thoughts you're having. It helps you to put things into perspective. So if someone is feeling warm-hearted versus cold-hearted, that's an indication. That's a temperature gauge. That's how we know if what's happening with our vehicles. When we look at the dashboard and we can tell. John Jeremy is a mechanic. He can tell us more about that. Right, John?
Yes, for sure. Now, guess what? We don't even realize what we are doing. We are putting our trust in that dashboard. Whatever the dashboard says, that is what we believe in. If we take it to the mechanic and it returns and it has a check engine light, we are mad and we'll say that the mechanic did not do a good job.
Okay.
But look now, God is giving us a whole tablet of things that we should do to be free, to be forgiven, to be loving, to be gentle, to be compassionate, etc. And yet we are taking this for granted because we are spiritually blind. And if with all the knowledge we have in modern technology and all the knowledge the doctors have in surgery and everything, if we could transform this knowledge from our spirit, from our physical and mental bodies and our mechanical thing and put it into our spiritual being, you know how happy this world would be. You know how strong we would be. So those of us that are Christians and have accepted Christ as our Savior, what is our job today? What do we have to do? We have to help people see these gauges in us. Let us be a dashboard for Jesus Christ. So when the temperature goes up, they will see we are repairing it. We go down, So when they go low, we go high in the name of Jesus, and that's where forgiveness comes.
Right. And in the list there is humility versus being proud. So, Mr. Bernard, can you speak to that? Humility versus being proud.
Well, anyone who's I would say overly proud, and because there's a balance. Well, I've done this marvelous thing, and I'm proud that I did that marvelous thing. But then there's those who are overly proud, arrogant. With that, there can be no intellectual, educational, or emotional growth because you think you know it all, and there's no way that anyone knows it all. So you have to be humble and understand. I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. I was visiting some friends in Alabama, and there was this boy who was misbehaving in the store, and he was really misbehaving, and his mother had had enough, and she started swatting his bottom side, and she kept saying, evidently, not a particularly well-educated, Southern woman from Alabama, and I'm not making fun of her, but she said, "I will learn you, to act like you've got some sense."
Okay.
And I thought about that. It's wow. Now, as far as the structure of the English language, that is incorrect. But philosophically, that was correct. I'm going to learn you not to behave like this anymore. I'm tired of you behaving like this, and I'm going to learn you to behave like that. But a person learns when they realize there's something I don't know, and I want to learn.
Right.
And so, well, I don't know. I didn't know that. Failed romantic relationships that I had, being a man, always trying to quickly give her the answer. Well, this is what you do to fix it. Now, why is it? No, that's not what she wanted. She wanted me to be quiet and just listen. Here's my shoulder, cry on it, let it loose. I'm listening.
And that's humility right there.
I've learned from past mistakes. I'm not there to give her the answer. I'm there for her to vent.
And the fact that it shows up the fact that you're healed, because the healed person would obviously be at peace, but the angry person is still revving up. They're angry. I mean, you can see it in traffic that there are peaceful drivers and then there are angry drivers. John, can you speak to that? Peaceful versus angry? I mean, you can also speak to joyful versus depressed.
Yes, for example, if you go back to day 19, you remember when we spoke about grace, right?
Yes.
And that grace didn't pertain only to God, but if you're humble to your friends, to your boss, and so forth. And if you realize that when you are proud, people avoid you, people do not want to be around you. And this is, and as much as in today's world, sometimes we need to bring what is going on around us today. If you check today's world, what is going on with the cops and the people and the angry drivers on the road is because I am so and so. Maybe you should not refer to me as this, or because I'm a cop, you should not refer to me as this. And that's what I told some of my friends, the cops are not necessarily bad people, but because they do not understand the difference between humble and being proud, they let their power show their proudness. And if your power shows your proudness, then you have evil things being done. For example, we on the road, we are driving down the road, you cut across me, I am in the right. So because I feel I'm in the right, I will let my rightness shows how proud I am. You should know better. But sometimes the person going down the road that crossed in front of you, he didn't even have breakfast for the morning. Maybe they call him something is wrong with his son is arrested or his mother just passed. We don't know what is going on in their brain. So even when we are right, we need to be humble, because if we are humble, we will understand exactly what is going on in the world today. And you need to tell some of your friends in Atlanta that when they're on the highway and they see out-of-state plates, sometimes we're not accustomed with all these 5 lanes sometimes, and then we maybe do a late crossing because we didn't see them in our mirrors.
That is true. That is so true. I experienced that this morning in the city. Twice. Just understanding, that we ought to express patience and grace to others, I think is the key. We've come to this part of our program where we're just going to get final thoughts quickly, 30 seconds. If you, Bernard, you want to go first?
Well, yes. I mean, I just wanted to say, that growth is just part of life. We have to grow, and you can't be arrogant, and hold on to everything that's burdening you down, that's weighing you down, and make progress. The Oregon Trail, as they would go, they would pack up everything, and then they realized, well, we can't. It's killing the horses, and it's too much weight on the oxen. So you discard everything that's not essential, so that you can move forward. And what you do, one of those things that have to be discarded is the unnecessary bitterness and hatred and the resentment.
Wow, discard those things that are unwanted. It makes your load lighter. You can go further. That's a word right there. John, any final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought is always remember, call upon the Lord, because He will allow you to have a warm heart, because the cold heart could also have tears, which we refer to as crocodile tears, and then they could get you depressed, broken, burdened, and angry. But then if we have a warm heart, we'll be peaceful, joyful, and we will rest assured that our being will be refreshed, and we will enjoy the wedding feast without getting drunk.
Wow. And that's a goal right there. That's the goal. That's the goal, to enjoy the wedding feast. And so it might mean that we're gonna go through some hardship. We're gonna go through some difficulties. But in the midst of it, this is our goal. The healed feelings are what we're going for. So again, let's learn how to mature even in the hardship of things that are happening. Have a great afternoon. For those of you who continuing on the journey with us, listen to us on the app. It's a free app. Download it, listen in, and enjoy this pleasant evening with us.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here today.
Take care.
God bless. Thank you.
Special thank you to all our speakers and wellness enthusiasts on this journey. The Tanasha Gray Show and 106 Live Radio appreciates your support and contributions to make this wellness challenge a life-transforming success story.
Streaming live from Atlanta to a global